thank you all for having me this evening, and certainly thank you, Teresa, for allowing me to speak here. Let me just start just generally. So, you know, the solicitor's office is the office that prosecutes the misdemeanors that happen in this county. But I don't want to put a period behind it. I think that should be a comma. And I say that because our job is not only to prosecute misdemeanors, but really to get to resolutions on these cases that we think are both fair, but also will, in some cases, and in many cases, offer opportunities of second chances. I say that because when you're talking about misdemeanors, you're talking about the crimes that certainly affects quality of life. They affect our day-to-day. If you think about it, most of us will be affected by a misdemeanor. We all pray that we'll never be affected by a felony. The majority of people are in some way consequentially affected by misdemeanors. The cases that we deal with range from a criminal trespass to a DUI, and then we look at the cases, you know, that are a lot more scary, and those are the domestic violence cases, the simple battery cases, the family violence battery, and things of that nature. The cases that are the ones that affect, you know, people the worst in our office, of course, are the vehicular homicides. So we do have vehicular homicide in the second degree too. In a normal year that is not the pandemic, we would have seen about 13,000 cases. That's a lot of cases. That does not include the traffic offenses that would have occurred in DeKalb County, which is normally about 150 to 160,000 citations. So it's just it's a massive, a voluminous office, but our goal is always to effectively and efficiently handle those matters and really to try to move them in and move them out as quickly as possible. Because you never want someone to have to deal with a misdemeanor for an extended period of time. The goal is to get the case, see how resolve it, what's the best resolution, and then move it on, because they're happening so quickly, and because most of these cases to some extent also affects the person who is also being charged with the crime. And so I'm going to first talk about the cases and the crimes that I just mentioned. Let me tell you, in the last year, I don't think anyone could have told me or would have prepared me for the number of the increase in the vehicular homicide. It is scary because our roads became what I think were more unsafe. That is, I believe, a direct correlation to the pandemic. This is Donna's theory right now, but I think eventually we will see that this is really what was happening across the country. And that is because during the pandemic, those who did choose to ride on the roads initially, you know, they didn't see traffic, the roads were clear, and they started driving faster and faster and faster. And even though now the roads are getting a little bit more back to normal, or what we saw pre-pandemic, it did not change some of the driving habits that were being created. I believe that you will also see what will come from the pandemic is an increase in domestic violence. The question becomes, will you see the cases? There's a difference in domestic violence and actually the cases that are going to be reported. I say that because if you look at some of the research on some of the domestic violence, there's this belief that during the pandemic, people did not report as many DV cases, especially family violence cases, because they knew this was a person that they had to live with. There was to go. Financially, they became more dependent. Children were at home. There was really no outlet, right? It's always very difficult to report a domestic violence matter. Put on top of that, what was going on in the world. I don't know if we will see the numbers, but I will tell you that I believe that there was a strong increase in domestic violence. one of the initiatives that we started back in 2019 was called Not in My DeKalb. That is an initiative that was directly geared to address the misdemeanor domestic violence cases that are occurring in this county. What I did was placed an advocate, a victim advocate, as well as an investigator at one of the precincts in DeKalb County. I placed them there to have, number one, a better relationship with law enforcement and a closer one. The second reason is to ensure that our victims, upon an arrest, to be able to contact our more quickly. What we and what we know in misdemeanor cases, understand this: if a person is arrested on a misdemeanor case, there is a bond for that case, period. Okay? The idea that there is not a bond, that's just simply not true. If this is that arrest, the initial arrest for that particular misdemeanor count, there will be a bond set. By the time we would receive the case, notification of the arrest, and even begin handling the matter, normally the individual was out of jail, they may be back in the home, and we may have lost that period of time in order to contact our victims and really to just provide them with the resources that they need to make whatever decisions they were choosing to make. So the advocate, as well as the investigator at the precinct, in particular, we placed it in South Precinct, and I'll tell you in a second why we chose South. But the advocate and the investigator who are located at South Precinct, they don't respond to the initial event. They do not respond with the police. They respond after an arrest is made and that police officer returns and there's a police report. They begin calling, reaching out to the victim and saying, hey, we know these places, we know these resources, we can get you into a shelter. Do you have children? How can we assist? That's the way in which we thought we could best support our victims in DeKalb. The reason we started in South Precinct, we looked at the numbers between 2018 and 2020, and we determined that that was the precinct that had the largest number of reported domestic violence. I will tell you, it was very close to the numbers in East Precinct. But we started in South Precinct, that was the greatest need. I'm happy to say that even throughout the, and even now, they are located in South Precinct. In addition to that, we now have an advocate who is assigned to East Precinct, which is phenomenal. We're still working. They go to East Precinct, but sometimes they're still located at South, and sometimes they're at the main office. But knowing that we have an advocate who's directly responding to the victims in that particular area, we get calls every day about, you know, how helpful they've been, how they're following up, and how they've been able to assist in a way that normally people may be a little skeptical about speaking to either law enforcement, but just able to provide resources in a way that may not have been there before. So that is, I'm gonna call that my baby. That's my program. I'm excited about it. We intend on still expanding it. And that is an initiative that my office started in 2019. Teresa spoke about cases and of course, a lot of misdemeanor cases, we have the opportunity of what we consider to be second chances. And we have a number of diversion programs that allow individuals who've been charged with crime to complete these programs. And they range from our mental health program to our misdemeanor diversion program to a program we call Goals A and Goals B. And another one that is called Phoenix, that's directly geared to women and men who have been in the life. And when we say in the life, they've likely been charged with the crime of prostitution. But these are the programs that are geared to allow them to get a second chance, keep this particular arrest off of their record, if in fact they complete the conditions. That includes community service, that includes some classes, in order to give them an opportunity of second chance. in some of these programs, we actually have speakers who come in, provide resources, and really just kind of serve as mentors, so that the individuals who are going through the program will have somebody they can reach out to and talk to and assist them in, you know, applying for a job, knowing how to dress. I'll be honest, knowing how to get on a Zoom. So our diversion programs have been, it's a phenomenal opportunity for people who need second chances. I do also want to take the opportunity to talk just for a quick minute about record restriction. And some people nod their head, but if you remember the old word for record restriction, Judge Ramsey on here, and I see Judge Ross on here, you all know that we called it expungement.
That's the word I still use.
Right.
Misnomer.
But it is record restriction. And the reason why they kind of changed the terminology of it is to, people think expungement, they think is wiped away and it'll never be seen again. That's not really the term. It is, record restriction says that it's restricted from most people being able to see it. Recently, and I say recently, as of January of 2021, there are new rules regarding record restrictions. And I will be honest with you, they affected misdemeanors far more than they affected felonies. In fact, it gave a greater number of cases and a greater number of charges the opportunity to be restricted. We are truly excited about that, because there are actually individuals who have received a conviction for misdemeanor charges for the first time in Georgia that now can have it restricted. That is not my office. This is actually a law that was put in place to allow us to have the opportunity to now restrict records that were never restricted before. So if there's anything that's good that has come out of this 2021 in the beginning of this pandemic, is that we have a new law that allows individuals to have cases and crimes that even perhaps they received a conviction for that can now be restricted on their records. And I always tell people, if you know someone who has a question about that, or they're not sure where to go, they need to start with the arresting prosecuting office. For instance, if it happened in DeKalb County, they really should try to figure out, well, was this Doraville matter or this happened at DeKalb County Courthouse? Remember the courthouse and remember who arrested you. That'll guide you as to where you should go in order to start applying for that restriction. My website, we actually have information regarding record restrictions and that we can handle in my office. I'm going to stop just for a second, and I will ask my Deputy Chief, Shari Jones, to just, if you don't mind, just very briefly go through some of the programs that we have in our diversion program, and just give them a synopsis of each one of them.
Thank you, Solicitor General. And I'm going to keep this just like me, short and sweet. I know y'all can't tell from the Zoom, but I'm 5'1¼ And so hopefully by the time I'm done going over briefly our 7 diversion programs, you won't say, well, she's not that short and I don't think the girl was that sweet. So that's, we're gonna aim for the opposite, right? Okay, so let's kick it off with the first of 7, and that's our misdemeanor diversion program. And that is just what it is in its name. A person, we call them participants when they enter our diversion program. People are eligible when they have little criminal history, depending on the charge. Not all charges are eligible to be in our diversion program. We always look at the facts and the evidence at hand. And if they are a certain age, for example, young, 17 to 21, then we put them in our special misdemeanor diversion breakoff. And that's called Goals A and Goals B. And it's basically stands for gaining skills and opportunities to move forward in life. And that's when we have them meet every month, just like the Solicitor General said, and we have a mentorship with them. And that basically means they check in with the court, and we also have speakers. Now, before COVID, it was in-person court and in-person speakers, but we've had to adapt with the times, and we've been having 100% attendance and participation with our speakers via Zoom. And it's almost as though everyone is more interactive. For example, our last speaker, which was last Friday, was on the topic of financial literacy. And this touched a lot of people. Everybody can get a little bit of a note from financial literacy. I walked away with a page and a half, and I consider myself financially literate. So it was extremely helpful. So it's life skills like that. It's gaining opportunities and life skills to move forward. The beautiful thing about our misdemeanor diversion programs is that it's the land of second chances. Last I checked, no one is perfect. And this gives people an opportunity to, when they successfully, keyword successfully, complete the program by attending the classes and meeting the requirements and doing their community service, because those are virtual options as well. I know some people try and opt out because of the times, but we are community driven. So you take from the community, you're going to give right back to the community. And so we have a plethora of opportunities for people to choose from. Goals A is our young group of participants who have basically zero criminal history. But we take a little bit of everybody, and that's why we have goals B, because these people are young too, but they just have just a little bit more criminal history, but they are in need of a second chance. Speaking of second chances, this one is near and dear to our heart, and that's our Phoenix program. And that is a passion project. The Phoenix program, just as the Solicitor General spoke of, is basically geared towards rescuing those in the street life in terms of prostitution. And we provide for them counseling, classes, and just a family that they can turn to and escape from what they were trying to escape from originally. They just took the wrong route. So we try and push them in a more positive direction. Speaking of positive direction, we have our misdemeanor mental health court. We call it MMHC. And MMHC, we basically have staffing in court every week where we meet with the group of participants and do check-ins, make sure that they're taking their medication, make sure that they are seeing their psychologist, their psychiatrist, their counselor, they're going to their group therapy, they're taking their classes, and they're doing their community service, because no one is exempt. And that leads me to domestic violence pretrial intervention, DVPTI. This is another passion project. As the Solicitor General stated, domestic violence is a serious crime, and although this is the land of second chances, we make sure that the defendants who become participants, they leave a better person, because we don't want to put them in the same situation that caused them to pick up the charge. So that is a lot of time, it's a lot of attention, and the requirements are quite significant, because when you complete our program, one of the beautiful things about diversion is that once you successfully complete it, then the charge is going to be restricted from your record. And so we do not take that that benefit, that duty lightly in the least bit. And so we make sure that all of our participants meet those requirements. And if for any chance that they don't, and they went on their 10th chance, then we send them back to the trial division where they can be prosecuted through the traditional criminal justice system. But in a nutshell, we are the land of second chances. We are community driven, and we believe in alternative justice, and we think outside the box. We know that there's more than one way to balance the scales of justice.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I'm going to actually stop right there, and Teresa, will you tell me if you need me to? I don't know how long you want to.
No. You got, yeah. Is there any questions for our solicitor?
Really?
How-
You got a question? Mhm.
Yeah, you mentioned one of our concerns has been minimizing bail, and I heard that everybody has bail. Are some of the people, do they get out on their own recognizance, or there's money for everybody, or are you just saying that there has to be a bail, but not necessarily a cash bail?
There are a number of charges that actually get signature bonds, which is out on your own recognizance. And I will tell you that at the beginning of the pandemic last year, the state court drafted an order which changed and created a larger number of charges where individuals can actually receive signature bonds. It is, I really, the list is really lengthy. And so, but in the state of Georgia, if it is a misdemeanor, then there is a bond that is already set. Now, there are some cases where the judge has to set specifically what the bond is. Those are usually the more extensive ones, and those are the ones where it's like a family violence battery or something along those lines. But there is always a bond set in a misdemeanor case. And in many of those cases, which was extended as of last year based on the pandemic, is there a lot of them are signature bonds, which is on your own recognizance. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Karen. Mhm.
Well, yes, thank you. This has been a lot of good information. So I'm really curious about the numbers of people that are in the different diversion programs, and then also the success rate.
I could tell she was about to talk, so I'll let you.
So each number is different. I have to pull up my little monthly stat sheet to give you the exact numbers, but approximately we have, I would say, hovering in the hundreds for each of the programs, with the exception of misdemeanor mental health court. That is a much smaller group because the time and attention that goes into each patient is very specific. Everyone is diagnosed with something different. Also, with the exception of Phoenix. Phoenix is another program that requires direct one-on-one and group attention. So those are our two smaller groups that we keep well under 50, but the others range in the hundreds.
And I will tell you, one of the biggest problems that we had in trying to transition from being a physical building to moving everything remote was we didn't want people to lose the opportunity to be in the diversion programs because they didn't get a notice, or they moved, or they weren't acclimated to Zoom, or they didn't have the ability to kind of jump on it. So a lot of things that we had to be very duplicative. So we had to, send them again. And, we had to reach out, and sometimes we had to call because people could no longer connect to us and get to us that they used to be able to. And so we found ourselves doing a lot of double work, but really finding it necessary because we didn't want people to lose that opportunity simply because their life was unstable because of the pandemic.
Yeah, so the follow-up is just how many people then are able to complete the program. I understand there's a lot of requirements and they sound important. So, but sometimes people may have difficulty with that.
They do. And I'll tell you, we've had certain instances where we've been on sliding scales of perhaps you couldn't pay for it. So we had a sliding scale for, or we had to waive fees for certain things. But I think the one thing that Shari mentioned was we believe that community service really can be done by almost anyone, especially if we decided that it could be done virtually. And so we gave people different opportunities that may not have been given before, but we had to be really creative. because, you know, there has to be some level of service that you give. And we did, we've given second, third, and fourth opportunities when we find it necessary. And we've had to cut fees also when we see, hey, there was a real need and we didn't want this to keep the person from completing the program.
Any other questions? You guys are really quiet tonight.
I have not a question. Well, it is a question. Your diversion programs start at 18 or below. The reason why I'm asking, because I used to be part of the diversion program for the youth in high school through the juvenile services. And that was very rewarding. You know, they had to own up to what they did, and we gave them consequences to keep from. If they can choose, if they don't want to own up, they have to go through the courts.
Exactly.
And something may be in, you know, in juvenile, you know, so.
So the youngest we have, it ranges, the youngest being age 17. And specifically, they would be in our goals A group, unless their criminal history was a little bit more advanced than their years, and then they would be in our goals B group, but the age would be 17. And you're right, it is completely optional. And sometimes you have to remind people that this is a privilege. Not everybody gets into the diversion program.
So you all handle the 17 and up, and the school ages, are they still with the juvenile? Okay.
Yes, so it's not that it's not happening. It's just not happening in our office. A lot of people think, it's funny that you say that. A lot of people believe that because we handle misdemeanors, we handle juvenile cases. We are, by law, I'm not allowed to handle any juvenile cases. That is handled under the district attorney's office. So that would be handled by the district attorney and juvenile court. And so that's how it's split up. And it's funny because a lot of people will say, well, I have a child who, and I was like, that's not me. That's actually the DA's office has a branch of individuals who work specifically in juvenile court handling those matters. But yes, they have a number of programs over there that they work with. Sorry, I ain't speaking for you, but.
Oh no, I was just wondering because it used to be headed by the volunteers. We were volunteers from the community. Of course, had to go through the background and all that good stuff. But it was very rewarding, you know, because that's showing them or giving them the opportunity to, I'm going to try and go through this. And some had to, you know, go through the class to think for a change and all that kind of good stuff. So. You
already know.
They do. They still have many of those programs.
I just want to say thank you, all of you all for doing all of what you do. We know exactly, and it's not taken lightly either.
Thank you very much. And I want to make sure that and Teresa, I'll make sure I email you guys so that people will know more about the record restriction. And my intent is to get out to, hopefully now that the world is opening back up, that we have the ability to make a bigger statement about the record restriction and how the law has changed, and hopefully people can take advantage of it. And we will ensure that we make sure we forward that information to you, at least for my website, and ensure that people can go on there, and if they need to, you know, try to apply and at least get them to the right agency for application.
Have they made that a little easier to follow now, Donna? Because before, when it was expungement, it seemed harder for people to kind of figure out the criteria for what they were doing. Have they made that more streamlined?
Not really, but it is streamlined. It really is still a little bit difficult for people to understand. I always say, if you know someone, the first question I'll say is, who arrested you? And where did you go to court? Right? Was it City of Atlanta Police? Did you go down there on, what is it, Garnett Street? Or did you go to the Fulton County Courthouse at 136 Pryor? DeKalb County, who arrested you? Was it DeKalb County Police? Was it Stone Mountain? Because the municipalities handle some of their own cases, right? In my office. So you talk them through that particular process. So no, the process isn't easy, more rewarding. And so for that, I will, while it may not be easy, it is far more rewarding because there are things on there that you can do that could never have been done before.
Yeah, and that you bring it to a point. This kind of goes back to why I kind of have some kind of, I feel some kind of way about all the municipals being chartered, or whatever the right word, because they don't put that emphasis on it from like the county does. And I know this because I've been working on some, I get cases too. and the cases I have, it's easier for me to work the DeKalb cases than it is the municipal. Municipals do not do the information outreach to let folks know what kind of programs you got. You literally have to like fight your way through it, and you need an attorney to even get to a point where you can even have an opportunity for any of this, right? I know because, hey, guilty, I had to go through Brookhaven, and I literally thought I was going to have to call y'all to come get me out, okay? Because I acted a fool up in there with that judge, okay? And the solicitor, just letting you know. I did. I told them, she told me to look up something, the law, and I said, you look it up. That's why I'm here. You're supposed to be here to help me, you know? But she ain't know I was the NAACP. But anyway, just to let you know, it's a little difficult dealing with the municipals because they looking at it more so from a financial piece. And I know that for sure. It's just revenue driven for them. And I feel, you know, that's what I feel. And I went through it. No, I did not want to pay the ticket. And every time I went through it, but I was like, I had to take off work to go down there and be down there every time. And the judge was like looking at me, why don't you just pay this ticket? I'm not just gonna pay this ticket. You know what I'm saying? I'm not guilty. She said, you guilty. I'm not guilty. Okay. So, but anyway, I just found it a little more difficult with the municipals when it comes to dealing with misdemeanors, because they act like you are a felon when you're going through the actual process. And that's just my own personal experience.
Well, you think about it, municipals, that's all they have, right? They're only dealing with a small group of cases. We got 13,000. Yeah, everybody, nobody really, this is not the biggest thing we're going to see today.
Right. And
so when you talk about trying to resolve cases, you got we have a traffic division that has switched to put an OCR program out that allows people to literally go online and resolve their traffic. This is how progressive and how I think we did it, right? From a bench and from a group of people who really have said, listen, service that we're providing, and we're doing this to ensure that the citizens of this county has the best way and the easiest way to resolve these matters. In addition to that, I've been truly blessed to have a board of commissioners and a CEO who've given me money to staff people directly to handle record restrictions. And so for that, you think about it, I literally have now, I call it 1.5 bodies, but they gave me 1.5. But it allows me to have staff that is directly handling just record restrictions, right? Those are not cases that are going to produce money. Those are not cases that are going to give more conviction. That's not going to do any of that. What it's going to do is allow people the opportunity to get stuff off their record. Right. Our county has said that's important too. So I know, I understand what you're saying. But you're right. The county is a different. We have a different element to it because it's just not the biggest thing, or it's not the reason why we're there.
Okay. Yeah, I think someone else had a question. Judge Ramsey.
Well, I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. I just wanted to say that I had the opportunity to speak a couple of months ago, and Madam Solicitor General, I wanted you to know that I did laud you for your partnership with our court, with state court traffic, with the implementation of the online case resolution initiative. I mean, it literally is, you know, one of a kind in the nation with the volume and complexity of the platform that we put together. And so, Madam Solicitor General, you don't know this yet, but we're going to be calling you tomorrow about
Let me take my camera off.
about an amnesty program. So all of those people who are out there who have cases lingering back from 2010 or so, we're going to offer them the opportunity for an amnesty program with a reduction in fines, as we will agree upon with the Solicitor General. And then all of those, and it doesn't take up a lot of extra manpower on the front end, because those cases, they'll just simply sign up online and go through the OCR program. And then the Solicitor General's assistants would be able to communicate with them within the portal and work out a resolution. And then on the end comes out a result that the judge approves. So we're going to be able to take care of a lot of people who have had issues over the years and get those cases resolved for them and get them back on track. So again, it's, you know, I know I speak for Judge Ross and our other colleagues on the bench. It's just been a wonderful experience working with this Solicitor General and her team on just innovation, because, you know, you just don't always have to sit, you know, behind a desk with a black robe. Here, look at all of us now. We're just communicating well over technology, and you can handle business and the people's business and criminal justice effectively with this forum.
Right. Thank you, Judge. And you know, I don't think any of us want these cases sitting around for a long period of time. I look at Clerk DeBerry, I see you laughing. No, none of us want this. We find, to be perfectly honest, I think I can speak for most of the criminal justice partners, that we all believe that if we can get to a resolve as quickly as possible and still, of course, be fair, then that's what we need to do, because we know that we're naturally going to be behind the ball because a year has passed and a lot of things didn't have to happen. And so we're all trying to figure out the best way to move forward. So thank you, Judge Ramsey, for that, because any way we can partner in order to get these cases moving and get people moving on with their lives. I know I'm looking forward to 2022.
We all are.
Okay. Do we have any other questions or comments? Yes,
Yeah.
Karen. Mhm.
I had another one, because you mentioned so many people had received signature bonds because of the pandemic. And I know that cases haven't really come to trial again, but do you have any idea how successful that has been in terms of people not, you know, committing crimes again? Or I mean, I hope people are going to keep records on this, because it was so rewarding to think that, you know, people could, you know, move on with their lives when they might not have been, you know, before the pandemic, when they were not given the opportunity for signature bonds.
I don't. I think that we will find ourselves trying to figure out how to determine, you know, what those stats will really look like.
Mm-hmm.
I will give you an example. There was a case recently, and I literally had to think and say, how do I know that the person didn't show up because they're not even here anymore?
Mhm.
You know, you think about it, you don't know what happened to people during this pandemic, right? There may have been people here who no longer could sustain themselves and they had to move back with a family member in another state. They passed away.
Mhm.
And so I don't know how to begin to look at those numbers. I imagine that we will eventually get to that point. But if I had to look back at the last year and start making a list of everyone I know passed away or had to move or is in a different position of posture than they were in the last year, I think I wouldn't even know where to begin. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So I do not know what those numbers will look like. But we do know that, as I stated, I know traffic offenses increased. I believe that domestic violence matters increased. I don't think we'll see the numbers, but the real numbers, but I do know that those types of cases increased. I do know that when I look at our vehicular homicide cases, they increased. And that is, you know, people just driving faster and driving more recklessly and not paying attention to things that are, you know, in front of them. We don't know how many kids dropped out of school and will never go back. One of the programs that we have is an educational neglect program. And it's not for the children, it's for the parents who are not sending their kids to school. And we said, well, how do we tell a parent that you should have had your child on Zoom? And they may have had to go to work, you know, child doesn't have the internet. All of these things matter, right? So it's hard to give you numbers on what this will look like. I think we got a little time before we'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just encourage you to get those numbers and figure it out. I mean, there's an opportunity for some criminal justice graduate students probably to get in there and do something.
When we, I will tell you, I think that us getting physically back into the building will help. We're just turning that corner. We're just kind of turning that corner. So yes, I agree. And I love grad students. They're eager to to crunch numbers and get stats.
Okay. Were there any other questions? We were not gonna just be on here all night. I do have another call just in case y'all want to stay here, y'all can stay. I just kind of go from call to call, but I really appreciate the synergy too. I love seeing when the other departments are here together. You guys know I'm a big time collaborator, so I'm glad to see each one support each other, and it also shows how things tie in together. And the biggest tie is NAACP. We're in the middle of all of that. I'm serious, right? For every call you get, I get, okay? Donna know that specifically. I've had to call her on some off hours, okay? Deborah knows too. Angel knows too. Oh my God, Judge Ramsey. Oh my God, okay. Anyway, the point is, I believe that we have to stay connected in all the situations. And you know, people think that the NAACP is a little loose because of our criminal justice beliefs, but no, if you did something, you're gonna actually have to pay the price. But I don't think that's the end of your life, and that's what that's where I come into, and that's why I really put out a lot on you guys to say you have to have alternatives to incarceration. It cannot be the answer. It's been proven that it is not the answer. And we're actually wanting to work with our school to make sure that there's no such thing as third grade schools to pipeline to prison. I just don't like that. I mean, I don't know how you take a third grade and say, oh, you're going to prison. So that's, so that whole thing of going through the process of Solicitor General's office being a part of the school system is very key too, to understanding how her office can be more, more effective in helping the school or helping the parents, like she just noted. When we talk about creating a community, this is what it's about, right? I love everybody, but if you bad, I'm gonna tell you bad. I believe in whooping. No, just kidding. But good old spanking will do you good. I am from that country, so that's what we did to keep us in line. But I also know that the criminal justice system as it is today is not the answer to a lot of the issues, the concerns, or the social inequalities that we actually see. We just got to change it. And just until we do, to know that you have programs in place to kind of help people be productive or even know that they can be productive in the community is you guys are to be rewarded for. So I appreciate you. I really do. If I didn't, I'll let you know that too. But I really do. I actually do. I like working with all of you through, even when I don't know stuff, I know how to call you and say, instead of saying, oh my God, that darn Donna, she done messed us up. No, Donna, what you do? No, but no, it's just good to be able to have that kind of relationship. And only in DeKalb County that we have that. Fulton County, I like y'all, but y'all not DeKalb, okay?
They're not.
Y'all not DeKalb, okay? So we just said we don't one and only for the state of Georgia. So I'm looking forward.
I can vouch for that.
And then I do want to invite you guys to our general membership meeting, specifically for Saturday, if you want to. There's going to be some surprise guests that I just literally got the okay from. We're going to have someone from our national association because it is our 66th anniversary or birthday, or which one it is, tomorrow. If you don't have your shirts, get your Founders Day shirts. We will be rocking our Founders Day shirts on Saturday. But we also, and none of the other people know this yet, but we will have Reverend Barbara is going to come and talk to us about mobilization. So these are some key things, especially when we're talking about criminal justice and what we do as a civil rights organization. But we're trying to do great things, and we really, really, really want your support. All of you will be getting letters from us asking for your nice donations. I already know, Judge Ramsey, you're gonna get yours. So we want to make sure that we're able to keep things going forward. We just started our youth council back. We were able to get almost 100 people to sign up. So I'm looking for sponsors to pay for their membership, not for them to come up with their membership. We've had consistent meetings with them. This meeting with Reverend Barbara will be hosted with the youth council at 2:00, and he's going to talk to them about mobilization. Why? Because when we talked to the youth, they asked us, they wanted to know how to protest. That was the key thing that they wanted to do. The other thing, Donna, which is really something to think about, is they wanted to figure out, how do we deal with isolation? That's worse than depression. That's worse than peer pressure, right? And they ain't even in school. So this is something that we as a collaborative group going to have to take our arms, virtual hug, and make sure that they get what they need. And we've been doing that. We got a great group of kids who just doing the thing. And we also have 23 out of the 35 people participate in our AXO program, which on this Sunday at 5:00, you all are welcome to join that, where we're going to give 10 people gonna get gold. And gold means you get to go to national to compete, right? But I think we're giving out like 20-something, almost 20-something awards at all the different levels. So I'm so excited about what we're able to do with our youth. If we don't show them now, they'll be coming to Donna and Sherry's office and clerk's office trying to figure out what their records are, okay? And the judge is saying, get me out of this, right? So we need to literally see where their mindset is currently so that we'll know how to deal with them when they become in front of our face. But I just wanted to let you know, we have a lot that we're doing. NAACP has not stopped. We haven't had our galas. We haven't had anything, but we've kept moving forward. We were the only branch that continued to meet because most people didn't know how to meet outside of coming
In
into.
person.
Mhm. So virtual has been my life for 20 something years because I'm a road dog, right? So I've been like this for years. So we did not stop. It was a challenge to get our general membership to even actually accept having a Zoom. And we have 80 to 90 people that actually join our Zoom. And what we do with the guest speaker part, we put that on Facebook. Our viewership have grown, not just here in Georgia, but nationwide. I get on calls and they say, I see you, I saw you. I was like, what? You saw me? But yeah, so this is good. I went to a book club meeting on Saturday night with former Brian Banks, the state rep from Detroit. And I'm saying, sign my book. And he said, I know who you are. I was like, how you know? He said, I follow you on Facebook. I said, what? I better act right. But you just never know. So our outreach for NAACP DeKalb, and I'm specifically talking about DeKalb, we are being the leader in how we're supposed to be on the local level as a branch. Because a lot of branches don't think they can actually have a relationship with their DAs, their solicitor generals, their clerk, their judges. So we're just trying to be that premier branch to do that. And we appreciate your support in advance. Is there any questions?
The is it virtual this weekend? What is the?
Is everything, all our stuff is virtual for the rest of the year up to September. I can get you to September.
I was just trying to figure out if it was in person. Got it.
No. This is all going to be virtual. To get Reverend Barber any kind of way is like, oh my God, he will not do it. And to get some of our national people to do anything, they're just like, well, we're in a meeting. Y'all need to get y'all butt on this phone. So yeah, they're gonna do that. They're gonna do that for us. Just to say happy anniversary, happy birthday, whatever we're gonna do. And then support what we're trying to do with our civil rights organization. You're all welcome. Share. Are there any questions? Anything else? Any hot topics? Donna, one thing that you get that record restriction piece, we will post that out for you. Bert has some other organizations that literally will feed into this. We've been talking to DA's office about what is that, restorative justice, right, Angel? So we've been trying to literally come up with these alternatives even in the community, right? My thing is not for them to see y'all. That's my thing. But if they see y'all, then y'all need to take care of. Did anybody have any questions or comments or anything?
Great meeting. Love it. Love seeing everybody I hadn't seen in a minute, even though I see you on other platforms, but much love, much love, much love.
Good to see you guys.
All right. Okay, with all that, we have not, Bert, I forgot to pray us in. Someone feels led to pray us out, at least.
Gosh, I can always, but I definitely yield it to the judge. He looked like he's ready to do it.
All right. Father God, thank you for this opportunity to come together to collaborate on behalf of your people this evening, Father. Thank you for the servant leaders that you've placed among us, Father, to serve us and to enhance the quality of our lives. Father, continue to bless us all and keep us in thy good and perfect will. In your precious Son, Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Judge Ramsey.
A pleasure. You all have a great evening. See you soon.
Thank you. You all too.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
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 Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.